So, got 5 pull cord cases, 3 on the left. All seem to have the internal hardware. Whether or not it's good or not, we'll have to pull it apart and see. Then we've got this guy here. Seems to be missing the internal hardware. You can see there's some screws in here. Somebody definitely was in here before messing with this one. And this one's just in pieces. But at least the underlying spring is attached. So we'll go through, pull these apart, clean them up. Hopefully we can get 3 working good pull cords. And we'll go from there. Okay, so I went through all of these. This is the one with the broken spring. Did belly pulling the spring out. Both these springs are shot. You can see some rust holes going right on in. Not really what I'm trying to use. Both of these are the same. They're just too far gone. I tried to reuse one to rebuild this one, and yeah, that one's shot as well. So I'm gonna assume that this one here that is still stuck, that's just soaking, is going to be a total loss on the spring. But at least we have the mechanisms here, and at least 2 good plastic wheels. Been a couple days since I tore apart these amazing pull starts. Ordered a new kit, supposedly the whole bunch of years where everything kind of is universal. Pick these kits up fairly cheap. Hopefully they will work. Comes with the new pull cord, new plastic insert here, new handles, springs, clips. So hopefully this will solve our issue here of not having any good pull starts. The one thing I'm not looking forward to is this spring. I've always disliked putting these springs in. Never found a good easy way to do it. But these springs are, sometimes it'll go easy, sometimes it's not very fun. So we'll see how it goes today. I'll start by pulling this apart. So, shouldn't have to use any of these old parts. Should be able to just use the new parts. We'll pull this one apart too. You see where this one was still good, the insert here. But if we got new ones, might as well use them. And here's the fun part of taking out the old spring. As you can see, they unwind fairly quickly. I'm hoping that putting the new one in, I'll be able to try something slick. Make sure you're set up and push down. Hey, that actually worked a lot better than I thought it would. Right into place. So I left the ring on, if you couldn't see, and left it all bound up in there. When I set it in, I just pushed down on the clip here and it unwound perfectly in there. I did pinch the tip of my finger a little bit, but nothing to complain about. So we'll finish putting this one together and hopefully we'll have a decent working pull start. For those of you out there that don't know, a little indent here is so you can put the rope in there and you can help wind up the spring. I messed up a little bit here and didn't quite get it in the right spot, so I gotta pop this up a little bit and hopefully get that rope in correct. It should go just like that. This way, when I go to wind it up, it'll wind right up and it'll make it nice and easy. So let's get the spring in here with our new setup. Okay, so that's what we want. So this setup, there's that. There is the new nut. Alright, it's all set up. I'm gonna wind this up a couple times to get the spring adjusted so it'll recoil properly. Spring did not take onto the back, so it's got to be pulled apart. This is where it gets boring and tiresome. I'm not going to bore everybody with the whole thing, but go through and talk to you after it's all done. Alright, so as you can see, I got the first one all together. Got a trim here, put our little plastic cap on there, stops the water from coming down in. As you can see when you pull it, got your little actuator that comes out here that catches with the gear on the motor. This one works really good. You do want to make sure you put some type of grease or something on the shaft, so this way everything stays nice and free. It's brand new, so it sounds kind of rough, but because with it being new and everything, it's perfect. One thing I wanted to show you was with this cap here. All these machines are different, from snowmobiles to four-wheelers, three-wheelers, lawnmowers. They all have their own different setup. Or Yamaha does this nice little thing here. You're going to want to make sure that each one of these pins are on either side of this piece here. So this way, when it pulls, when you pull it, it's going to engage to hit that gear that's on the motor. And when it kicks back, it'll push it back down. If you don't have this properly, your pull start won't work properly. It'll be a mess. So, quick little thing. You don't want to, also too, you don't want to put these nuts too tight. Otherwise, your pull starter won't work properly. Just kind of snug them up. Nothing crazy. And go from there. When I wind these up, I wind them up anywhere from 5 revolutions to 6, depending on how quick I want it to pull back. So like this one I wound up 5, and it snaps right back. So you want to make sure that it pulls back, but you don't want to have it pull back too fast. Otherwise, you'll end up breaking your cable, breaking part of your pull start here, your pull start handle, and you could break some internals. So I like to do 5, sometimes 6, depending on how the spring sits inside the case here. We're going to finish this one up, tie on our new handle, and this will be done. And this will be hard. It's not an easy process. You saw when I was putting actually the spring into this one, the spring exploded. It didn't go in as nicely as the first one. I've always hated these redoing the recoil springs for that reason. They pop out, it takes a couple extra minutes to load back in. You're pinching your fingers, all that fun stuff. So, as you can see, that's a nice return speed without doing anything crazy. And for your knots here, I've always done double knots. You can do a single knot. I've always had the luck of the knot coming undone, popping out, something happening. So I always do a double knot. And then I'll go through and I'll cut the end off and make it a nice, and heat it up so it won't fray. But normally with the double knot, you're not gonna have to worry about it pulling through. There's a nice shiny piece of metal in here that stops it from pulling all the way through the plastic on you. But I always do a double knot. Whether or not you want to, it's on you. But as you can see, this one's actuated properly. And everything's good. Alright, so one thing I noticed trying to put these little caps on for the covers is that the double knot is just a little too big. So I'm going to cut this off, my extra. I'm going to heat up the end here to make sure that it doesn't fray anymore, and hopefully the single knot should do good, hopefully. By burning the end here, you're just making sure that it won't fray and won't pull apart on you as easily. Let's see. See, I don't like that. I cut my end here just a little too short. I feel like it's going to pull through if I keep trying. Maybe not. Let's see. Now I put a good amount of pressure on that. It's holding up fairly well. So as you can see, little snap caps. Just plug it up so this way, if your machine is outside in the rain, or you know you're going through a puddle, it's one less way for the water to get in. Not that it perfectly seal it, but it's a little better than leaving it wide open. Alright, so this week's video is an exciting one. It's pull starters. We spent pretty much all week trying to clear out our new workspace, trying to get that ready. So this way we have a nice area to work at, so we're easily accessible for our tools. Some upcoming projects. We've got Kawasaki Bayou. Needs the carburetor gone through, rejetted. It does run, but runs too lean. Over here, there's a Suzuki King Quad, or Quad Runner, I believe, 250. It needs piston rings, rear shocks, front axle boots. So that one's going to be a little bit more in-depth project, but another fun one to get, dig into and get our hands dirty. Over here we got a little Doodlebug mini bike. A fun little thing, little 3 horsepower engine. Needs the carburetor gone through. Maybe we'll just put a new carb on it, or maybe we'll go with something bigger, depending on what we figure out. And over here, a Honda 300EX, carburetor, needs a rear shock. Plastics need to be stitched up because they're a little Frankensteined already, but we can make it usable. And over here, it's a nice little Chinese ATV. Nothing special. Runs, goes. But the rear rack, as you can see, is bent. The rear part of the frame is broken. And we'll get that repaired. Maybe do a short video on that as well. There are multiple projects that we have. If you guys like this kind of content, you can like, share, subscribe. And we'll keep working on different things.